everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Now, we like to do these Railfan events here at our club here in Decatur, Alabama called the River City Railclub. We host 3 events a year, and so for this video we're going to be going over each of those 3 events and our club as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the trains of Decatur. We've seen some this year at our train watching events. The River City Railclub hosts 3 events throughout the year for rail fans to come and enjoy the trains of Decatur. In our short 4 or 5 years of operation, we've had rail fans from all across the southeast come to our events. But one thing's for sure, you never quite know what antics we're going to be up to.
Hi everybody!
Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
Hey. Hello.
Hello. Howdy.
Following my attempt of a perfectly cut scream, let's get back to talking about our Railfan events. 2025 was a special year for the River City Railclub as we started a brand new event. This brand new event is called Frost Fanning, a name voted on by members of the club. For the first rendition of Frost Fanning, we spent the first Saturday in January trackside at Decatur Depot. It may have been cold outside, but we had a lot of fun watching the trains of Decatur and meeting several new friends. Now I'm going to shut up and let you enjoy some of the train action that we saw during Frost Fanning. Now, our club likes to go eat down in Hartselle at the Freight House following our events. Freight House is one of the best train-themed restaurants in North Alabama. Of course, it's also one of the only train-themed restaurants in North Alabama. Now, we saw this B-241 was coming south with some CN power, so we lit up Hartselle like a Christmas tree prior to going and eating. And that's going to do it for Frost Fanning 2025. It was a pretty successful first run of the event, and we're looking forward to the next one coming up in 2026. It's actually coming up really soon. Frost Fanning 2026 will be held Saturday, January 3rd, 2026 at Decatur Depot. But now we turn the page to our next event we hold yearly. The granddaddy of them all. The one that started it all. The biggest Railfan event in North Alabama. This is River City Railwatch. So back in the beginning of 2022, a few friends and I had the idea of starting a Railfan event in Decatur, Alabama, as sort of our own little event. We had seen several different Railfan events across the country, most notably like Folkestone Railwatch, events at Cordele, La Plata, and a bunch of other places. And we thought it would be a good idea to drum up support in our local community here in Decatur by hosting one of these Railfan events. So with that, River City Railwatch was born. In 2022, we really didn't have that big of a crowd as it was kind of a last-minute thing, and it ended up being really cold and kind of rainy most of the weekend. However, 2023, things changed quite substantially. We had several Railfans from across the southeast and, of course, in our local area that came out and hung out with us all weekend, and it was absolutely fantastic. We had a wonderful time. And then in 2024, it really took the next step. We had even more Railfans from across the country. We had Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, Birmingham, Montgomery, all represented. Dothan, Alabama was represented. We even had some from maybe even the Kentucky area, Georgia, and then also even Tampa, Florida, which is actually quite incredible to have somebody from there. We even got to see in some of our other events some virtual Railfan people come and hang out with us as well, and we've just had a lot of fun. Now, 2025, we had to move weekends to the first weekend in May. Typically, we have this either the third or fourth weekend in April. We like the third weekend in April preferentially, but this year that was the weekend of Easter, so we ended up moving it to where everybody could spend time with their families, and then we moved Railwatch to the first weekend in May. And it ended up being rainy, surprisingly. Not super expected usually for that kind of stuff. Usually you'd expect, pop-up thunderstorms in the afternoon in North Alabama, whatnot. But it just was kind of mostly rainy Friday and Saturday. We had a really limited crowd because of that. So hopefully in 2026 we'll be able to have an even bigger crowd. It'll be the 5th anniversary of River City Railwatch, the 5th annual River City Railwatch. And so with that, let's just take a look at some of the trains we saw. River City Railwatch is a 3-day event. We do it Friday through Sunday, so everybody gets a chance to come out trackside. So let's roll the tape.
I don't know though for sure.
Well, this time it actually is.
face.
Hey.
Yeah, white face.
Now, I did get that on video.
It is $48.99.
The nose serving.
Yeah.
Now, before we continue, I have some rather unfortunate news to share. On the Monday or Tuesday morning prior to Railwatch, I'm not entirely sure which, I received a text from the current Depot Director, Suzanne, that former Depot Director Judge David Breland had unexpectedly passed. Judge Breland was the Depot Director up until January 1st, 2025, when he finally stepped down and retired, a well-deserved retirement for our very good man. He loved everything about the depot, and without him, the club would not have even been a thing. Without his support, if we didn't have a depot director like him that supported our club, we wouldn't even be having these kind of events. He had just had a surgery a few weeks prior, and I guess went downhill since then, and unfortunately he passed, and the funeral was actually the Saturday of River City Railwatch. The officers and I all went to go pay our respects during the middle at about 11 o'clock. It was really nice. They went by the depot in like a little last parade for him. Unfortunately, I was not there because I had a little idiotic situation that I caused on myself. at lunch. People that were there know what happened. Anyway, as far as I'm aware, Judge Breland was really enjoying his retirement. He actually made a brief appearance at Frost Fanning, pulled up. It was actually really funny, really cool, really nice to see him again. If you knew David, you knew he had a laugh that lit up a room. I mean, I remember several times I've had the volume on the Decatur Virtual Railfan Cam all the way on zero, or not really all the way on zero, but like really, really low, and I could still hear his laugh 2 rooms away. It was always fun. It was always nice to know, hey, he's still doing good. He's still there. It was always so much fun to hear. Since then, they've actually, I think, renamed the G-scale layout on the back of the depot porch there to Breland, which is actually a really nice name. I really think that's a really cool thing. We know he's better off. We know he's not suffering anymore, but to us, he will always be the colonel of the River City Railclub. And with that, we mark the end of River City Railwatch 2025. Here I'm proud to announce that River City Railwatch will be returning to the 3rd weekend in April this year for the 5th annual River City Railwatch, the weekend of April 17th through 19th, 2026 at historic Decatur Union Depot. Come on out, it's the 5th annual event and we're going to have a big blowout. Hopefully we'll have several big names there and also a lot of fun. Apparently I can't say a lot of enough. I got stuck on a mix track, I guess there. Oops, it happens. We gotta have some fun in these videos sometime. I can't be professional all the time. It's really hard to be very professional that much for me. Anyways, it's now August, and we move into our hottest event in the year, probably figuratively and literally, the Summer Railfan Hoot-enannie. Yes, we're Southern. We like to say Hoot-enannie. Deal with it. After the first River City Railwatch, we thought it would be a good idea to start another Railfan event in the summer as everybody's getting ready to go back to school or maybe back to work if you're in like the teaching field or something like that. Of course, at the time, we were still all college students. It's crazy to think I'm not a college student anymore. I'm old. Anyways, of course, we thought August would be a good time to do it. Now we just needed a name. At first, I kind of had an idea of like a Summer Railfan bash. Then we heard there used to be events held in Decatur yearly, multiple times a year, called Hoot-enannies, which that sounded like a really interesting name. That kind of sounded like a nice backyard name. So we're like, here, how about we revive that name? Well, turns out we spelled it wrong because they used a Y way back then, and now we're using IE at the end. I don't know what the difference is. Somebody can correct me on that. We just put our own little spin on it. Anyways, after a few years of fluctuations, we decided that the first Saturday in August was probably the best time to do it, so we started doing it then. We've had a lot of fun at our events throughout the years. One of the first ones that was really populated was one of the hottest days ever. It was just absolutely terrible. The last couple of years, including this year, it was hot. It just wasn't like the crazy year. I think it was 2023. It was just absolutely miserable outside. We had to end it at like 2 o'clock. We couldn't handle it. This year wasn't as bad, thank goodness. Had a lot of fun at this one again, so let's roll the tape on this one. started until now.
36 clear Vine, straight up.
It don't.
And with this nice empty Coke train here, that puts a wrap on the Summer Railfan Hoot-enannie 2025. We had a lot of fun and we're looking forward to the Hoot-enannie in 2026. I'm glad to announce that once again, Summer Railfan Hoot-enannie 2026 will retain its typical first weekend in August, the August 1st, 2026 at Decatur Depot, and we will do our best to ensure that your chair is not beaten up. Dadgum hooligans beating up chairs. It's a real travesty, you know. Real travesty. It's also comedy gold to watch. As you can see, we sure do love our Railfan events, and nobody does it better than the River City Railclub. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. If you like the video, be sure to like it, and if you like what you see here, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. This is a lot of fun, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing our Railfan events here in Decatur, Alabama. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all in the next video. Have a good one.